BookTube, it's Jackie. How's it going? If you're new to me and it's the first time you're seeing this face, hello, what's up? My name's Jackie. I sit on my floor and I talk about books. So I hope that's why you're here, because that's what's gonna be happening today. If you're not new to me, thank you for always tuning in and continued support. I really do appreciate it. So today for you, as you can see for today's title video, this is my weekly wrap up. This is week 3 of the year and all my reading shenanigans in between. So if you'd like to find out what I was doing between January 14th and January 20th and all the stuff I've been working on and reading, grab yourself a drink, have yourself a seat, and let's get talking some books. Okay, so last week was a big week. It was the First Lady Reads Awards. So I did not get as much accomplished as I would like to, but I did complete 2 books and am still working on 2 more. So I'm very excited to say that. I would have liked to complete more, but I knew that week I was not going to be doing a lot of reading because I had all the nominees videos going up. And then of course I have my big award show, which was on January 20th. I will link it here in the corner if you've not gotten to go see it. What the First Lady Reads Awards are, if you are not familiar with it, is that is actually how I do my best of the year. Instead of making one video saying best books of 23, I decided to do award style fashion where I actually give a First Lady Read Award to the best book in all these different categories that I actually break down books in when I read. So like best hero, best heroine, best world building, best sex scene, and of course, you know, best book. So if that sounds interesting to you and you'd like to see it, it is linked up there. It's also linked in the down box below along with the playlist of all the nominee videos. So I will link the First Lady Reads Award 2023 playlist in the down box below, and you can watch everything, find out all the nominees, and then watch the award show go off. I'm really proud of that video. It's one of my more in-depth videos. And what I mean by that is not like so much going in the books, but it has the most editing that I do. As many of you know, I do a lot of one-shots unless I'm doing vlogs or something happens to my camera. So you see the stumbles and everything. I do a lot of editing in that one because I do a lot of write-ups and all the intros for the awards. You know, like they stand there at the Oscars and they talk about all the films together in a little cute little paragraph. I write all those myself. So yeah, I put a lot of work into that, and it takes all day. Not only just the filming part, but then I have all the editing. So that's like one of my biggest videos of the year. So if you've not gotten to go see it and you'd like to see it and support me, please go check it out and see if maybe your favorite one or if your book was nominated for a category or what have you. But there's that little spiel right there. But this is what I read that week and what I completed while doing all of that writing and organizing and figuring out and emotionally debating. This is what I was able to complete. The first book I was able to complete was To Bleed a Crystal Bloom by blah, 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 blah. This is the hardest title to fucking say, okay? I have to say this right now. I have never been able to say this title correctly. To Bleed a Crystal Bloom by Sarah A. Parker. Here you go. This was my viewer recommended jar book. So when I pulled it on my January TBR, I pulled this one, and I finally completed it. So yes, viewer recommendation. It is the first installment to the Crystal Bloom series, which is actually a trilogy. I thought for some reason it was a quartet. It's only a trilogy. And I listened to it on audio. I did not physically read this. I listened to audio, and the audiobook was done by Chelsea Stevens and Troy Duran. I picked the audiobook because of Troy Duran, okay? That's why I picked the audiobook. We'll get into it. It is a dark Rapunzel retelling. We have adult graphic content, blood exchange, self-harm, but it's just the tips of the fingers, so not a lot. And well, I guess there's a little bit more than that, but it's really not. It's in there, but it's not slashing somebody's wrists, okay? We'll just say that. It's not that. We also have what appears to be similar of drug and alcohol abuse. It is not drugs and alcohol, but it is their representations within this fantastical world that Parker has created. So there is representation of that usage. We also have an age gap. We do feature some moments of gaslighting. We have interspecies relationships. We also have close proximity, forbidden romance, and we have secrets with a cliffhanger, as this is the first installment to a trilogy that you do need to read in order to understand the story. Now, I will be doing a full book review on this book, so I'm not going to go into super in-depth of what works and what doesn't work, but I will give you a summary, kind of my version of the summary of this book. And if you'd like to see what I thought really about this book in-depth, I will have a full book review. When it goes up, I will link it up here, but it will be going up at some point in time this week, as I just need to film it. But these are some of my notes from it, so kind of a little sneak peek. So the summary of this book is we feature Orlaith. Orlaith is at the time about 21, about that time, about that old. And she was rescued at 2 years old after her village was destroyed by a man named Rorden. Rorden is not just a man. He is something more. And that something more is something that's very dangerous to Orlaith and whatever she is. We learn that very early on, that there is another layer to the relationship, but for some reason, Rorden wants her to survive. So he takes her and takes her to his castle, and Castle Noir, which I think is a dope name, straight up, dope name. And he doesn't lock her in a tower, okay? He puts her in a tower and raises her kind of as his own for the next 19 years. Now, in this 19 years, there are things about Orlaith. She has some very odd tics and nuances, and she's also very, very sheltered. There is this thing with sound. She doesn't like very loud sounds. She also despises change, and she likes to keep her world in her little bubble that she has created. Now, her bubble is not just the four walls of Stony Stem, which is the tower that she kind of resides in. It's everywhere on the grounds that she's been allowed to meander and peruse and investigate for the last 19 years. But she has a line that she has self-imposed that she never crosses. And so that's kind of her barrier. So her bubble is quite large, but for her mindset, it's very small because it only really focuses on the gardens, grounds, and the castle itself, because this girl is obsessed with painting and gardening. And when I mean painting, she likes painting rocks. Lots of rocks. Like, not polishing rocks, she likes to paint them, and paint murals and things of that nature. So she's very artistic and creative. Now, when we are introduced to Orlaith in her 20s, the story opens up with a big bang, Rorden saving her, and then we cut to when she is older. The world that Parker is creating at this time is now starting to be threatened by the same things that destroyed her first world, Orlaith's. And that does not bode well for Orlaith, because now her world, her bubble is starting to shatter and her world is changing. She herself is also starting to develop and become more of a woman into her sexual maturity. So not only is her exterior changing, her interior is changing. And the thing about her interior, she's never really felt like she's belonged in her skin. She's always felt like it didn't quite fit. And so now it's really starting to not fucking fit. So she's basically miserable all the way around. Okay, she's miserable. And events start to unravel throughout our story, and we learn about a very, very big secret. A very big secret that explains a lot of Orlaith, but actually gives us no answers. It explains, but it doesn't. It's a very huge fucking cliffhanger. It's kind of irritating, but it's a good one. It's a good one. So, that is kind of the summary of this book. And throughout this, we have a lot of angsty pull romance between our Rorden and Orlaith. And the girl is fucking horny as sin. I mean, seriously, bitch, go fucking take care of it. Seriously, like, it's every fucking page. It's like, oh my God, it's between my thighs. The pull. Fuck, lady, go take care of it. Seriously, I will let you fucking borrow it as long as you clean it. Seriously. God damn. Like, it's every fucking time. It's starting to get slightly annoying. A little bit of a spoiler of my review. But, yeah. But that is the summary of the story. So if you'd like to find out what I thought worked and didn't work, please go check out that review. It'll be linked here when it goes up, and it will be up shortly during this week. So you will not have to wait very long if you were on pins and needles for it. However, I will give you my spice rating. I only give it 2.5 chili peppers, and I do go into detail of why. Very much so. It's a point that needs to be made. So yeah, that's the first book I completed. And again, I did listen to this on audio. I will admit that if you don't go check out the review, I do advise and recommend not to listen to this on audio. I did not have a good time with the audiobook. I feel like I would have appreciated this book a lot more had I've actually physically read it. So I do plan on continuing, but I will be continuing physically reading this series. I don't believe I'll pick up the rest of the audiobooks because there's too much detail and too much layering that the audiobook, I was lost a lot of the time. And I feel like if I physically read it, I would not have felt as lost. I think the author did write this to design to kind of make you feel lost and not really know what's going on at certain points in time in this book. And the audiobook definitely makes you feel like that. And it kind of ruined the experience for me just a little bit because I didn't have a good time with the audiobook. I didn't. So if you're only picking up the book based off of what you just saw here, don't go with the audiobook. I don't recommend it. I would recommend physically reading it, or if you're going to listen to the audiobook, read it physically along with the audiobook, so you're getting that twofold kind of absorption, because there's a lot to this book. But again, I go into all of that in my book review, which will be up very, very soon, and I will be linked up there in the down box below. So please go check it out, and thank you for the recommendation as well to Patricia. Thank you. I believe it was Patricia who recommended this, so thank you. The next book I completed this week was Nocturne by Alyssa Weiss. So, little short dude. I was smart. I put some big guys with some short guys so I could able to actually complete some stuff. So far, to my advantage, it's working. I just knocked over Tweety. Tweety. They're always causing problems, man. Causing problems. That's why I like Sylvester. Okay, so this is Nocturne by Alyssa Weiss. This is a standalone set during the 1930s Great Depression in Chicago. We do feature some PTSD representation and some depression due to death of family members, which we do see on page in flashback form. We also show murder. This is a couple of different retellings, all kind of combined into one. We have a Phantom of the Opera retelling, sort of kind of theme going on here, along with a very, very base Hades and Persephone retelling. And then we throw into some Thanatos and Hypnos, the Greek gods of death and sleep, kind of thrown in here, the brother element. So we've got a lot of mythological references. We've got a lot of artistic references, a lot of stuff packed into a very little tiny package. And we also feature revenge. Yeah, throw that one in there too. Yeah, what? Okay, sure. Let's party. Let's do this. All right, so quick summary of this book. We feature Grace. Grace has suffered a lot of loss in her life after seeing her brother being gunned down by a mobster, and then her mother's what appears to be an accidental overdose. What it appears to be. And she experiences all at a very young age, all before the age of 13. And at the age of 13, she goes to live with her aunt, and to earn extra money, and her aunt, by the way, doesn't give a fuck about her, okay? Because her aunt happens to be the sister of her dad, who just abandoned them and said, deuces, I'm out. So aunt doesn't really give a fuck. Prior to losing her brother and her mom, she had a neighbor who was a violin player, and he taught her a little bit on a violin. So she goes on the street corners and plays her little violin and some of the songs that the teacher taught her. And she does this to earn money to buy some ballet shoes so she can go to a ballet company and become a ballerina, which is what her dream is. And that's what she succeeds in doing. She goes to this ballet club and walks in, and the mistress stops the practices and kind of confronts her and says, if you can say little bird, tell me what a little bird is, then you can stay. And she calls her Colombina, and that becomes her nickname. And she becomes part of the dance troupe there. She lives in the boarding house. In the beginning, she's not befriended by many until she meets Amelia, and they become very, very close, fast friends. And Amelia becomes one of the prima ballerinas. And this is where our story really starts to take off once we've gotten this backstory a little bit. Amelia has met the man that she wants to spend the rest of her life with, and she wants to retire. So when she retires, Grace is brought up as Prima. Grace believes she has earned this right on her own, and it's quickly discovered that a patron has caused her to be brought up from the core and is now the prima ballerina in this new play. And that is when this story goes from starts a Phantom in the Opera sort of retelling, and then bleeds into a Hades Persephone, and then morphs into this revenge brother duo that Grace has become a pawn on a fucking chessboard, and she's being played left, right, and subway till Sunday. There's the progression of this story. In 230 pages, 230, something like that. Very, very short. Super jam-packed, a lot of stuff to unpack in a very small package, which usually is really fun. And it was a good time. So let's break into it. So what worked? I loved the lyrical writing that Weiss uses. I love a good lyrical writer. And it also tends to work with books that have a musical or an artistic component to go with it. It just adds this other layer of kind of epicness to it. And I really, really enjoyed it. I had a good time with it. I didn't think it was too much. I didn't think it was too little. I thought she did a really good job of balancing out getting the story through because it is so short and still giving us some kind of romanticized vision of what she's creating. And I thought it was stunning. I thought she did a really, really good job. And through this lyrical writing, what she was doing is I loved how she was giving us dualist points that contradict the entire time. So through the dancing, she would describe Grace, the sweat and the heart pumping and the physical exertion, the blisters that a ballerina gets on her toes, all the pain and effort and work that goes into creating this body that literally looks like it floats on nothing. But while describing that, she's describing what Grace is doing in this lyrical, beautiful, poetic kind of vision. And it was awesome. I loved how easily she switched back and forth between this lyrical and very almost crass writing, but it still flowed so well and so nicely, and it gave you both points of view, the dark and the light. A lot of dark and light in this story. A lot of playing with this theme of good and bad, good versus evil, light versus dark. All these kind of like play along this, dualistic point of view. And I thought it was great. And she did it with her writing and a lot of her scenes. And I thought it was really, really great and unique that she did that. Again, very, very great skill set, especially with such a small book. And she did it quite a lot of times. Now, granted, it doesn't really happen until towards the end. The first part there's actually 3 parts in this book. By the way, guys, there's 3 parts in this. 3 parts in this. And the first part is a lot of the back historical fictional part of the story, kind of setting things up. Not a lot of magical realism. There's some kind of ethereal moments, especially when she describes the dancing, the practicing. But a lot of this lyrical stuff comes more towards the end. So if you pick up this book and you're like, Jackie, I'm like halfway through this and I'm not seeing this dualistic lyrical poetry that you're talking about, it's because you haven't reached it yet. It happens at the end or the second half. And it's jam-packed, so it kind of balances itself out. Trust me on that one, okay? I loved the Greek mythology thrown in here. So when I was reading this book and I was getting to the part with the patron, I was like, oh, Phantom of the Opera. Awesome. I love Phantom. Don't get me... One of Andrew Lloyd Webber's greatest masterpieces, okay? Fantastic. If you've never had a chance to go see Phantom of the Opera, you need to go see it. Go get a good ticket, spend money on a good fucking seat, and go see it. Most theaters are on a bad seat in the house for the show, but it's amazing. It's amazing. But this is not a Phantom of the Opera. But when I saw the Phantom of the Opera telling, I thought, oh, okay, I got it. I got this. And then we get to the patron and what she has to do after she's found about this patronage and her show that she is in is now done. The showing of is done. They're going on to a new season. What she has to do next. And then it turns into this Hades and Persephone story. And I said, oh, okay, that's cool. Didn't see that one. But then if I really think about it, Phantom of the Opera is kind of loosely Hades and Persephone too. Like if you really want to stretch it, you can. There is some definite elements there. But then we get the Thanatos and Hypnos element. And I'm like, whoa, hold the phone. It is not Hades and Persephone. It's a whole nother fucking Greek mythology tale that I am not used to reading. And she is just some fucking pawn. Holy shit. What? And then, just for shits and giggles, let's put a fucking timeline on this bad boy. And give it some Beauty and the Beast references too. Yeah. We got four fucking reference materials in this short ass book. I was like, bitch, what else are you gonna throw at me? Jesus. I loved it. I loved the Greek mythology twist element. I loved the subtle Beauty and the Beast references. I loved the Hades and Persephone moments. I loved the fan moments. I thought these incorporation of all these well-known stories was fantastic. I thought she did a really good job with it, especially for as short as this fucking book was. She balanced it very, very well. It wasn't overdone. It wasn't a direct ripoff. It was unique in its own right, but it still paid homage to these previous stories that she was referencing. And I thought she did a great fucking job. Round of fucking applause. Fantastic. Loved it. I love Beauty and the Beast. I love Phantom. I love Hades and Persephone. And now I'm kind of down for Thanatos. Let's do it. Let's bring it on. Bring it on. Okay? Great use of reference materials. Fantastic use of it in a fictional story. And then I also have a historical fiction component with the Great Depression, with Al Capone and the mobsters. Yeah, all of that in this little bitty book. And it's not jam-packed to the point where it's like, what the fuck what are you doing? It all flows and makes sense and it feels right. I loved it. I had such a good time with it. I did. I really, really did. The end twist. Whoa. Okay, so like I said, we have a Thanatos and Hypnos element here. I'm not really up to snuff on their Greek mythology tellings, so I don't know if this twist element is a reference to a story that's very popular with them. I tried to do a little bit of research, but what I found, I didn't find anything really similar to this. So this is just a twist to me. And if I am wrong, I am sorry. If you guys are more up on the Greek mythology, please let me know, because I would love to know, because it sounds like a great story. Because I loved it in this element. This twist, I knew a twist was coming. Okay, I knew a twist was coming. What I did not see was the twist on top of that twist. I knew there was a twist that would essentially do a third act breakup moment. But I did not see the twist after that. That one blindsided me. I was like, what? And I even stopped reading. What the fuck? It was a moment. I wish I had a video, guys. It was great. Because my husband just kind of was playing video games. He's like, what? I didn't do anything. Because I was in the living room reading and I was like, what the fuck just happened? Oh my God. It was great. Definitely kind of blindsided me because of that other twist that was like distracting here. She did a really good job with it. Like, she gave me this beautiful Cascade, Swan Lake, arabesque thing over here that's just drawing my eye, and then all of a sudden I get this rampage over here of all these fucking pirouettes, and it was like watching a ballet, and I'm like, I did not even see you come on fucking stage. Where the fuck you come from, lady? And it was great. I thought it was great. She did a really good job with it. And I loved the ending. So this ending is kind of a bittersweet ending. And I liked that it wasn't a straight happy ending. I loved that there was some sadness in it, because here's my thing. Sadness can be a great ending too. It can be. I mean, look at the book, look at the stories that they're referencing, that our author is referencing. She's referencing Phantom of the Opera. The Phantom doesn't get the girl at the end. He lets her go. Hades and Persephone. Hades takes her, but he still has to be without her for 6 months out of the year. Thanatos has one of the saddest jobs of all. He is the god of death. Okay? He ferries people. No, he doesn't. He's not the ferryman. He's not the ferryman. Sorry. I can't think of his name now. Damn it. He is the one that actually takes the soul to the ferryman. Like, that's him. You know? And then Hypnos, dreams can be happy, they can be sad. And so I like the fact that this book didn't have a traditional happy ending. It had a bittersweet one. There was moments of hope in this ending, but at the same time, it was very sad. But it was a beautiful sad. Because of the hope that was attached to it. I liked that. I thought that was refreshing, and I enjoyed it. I know that's not going to be for everybody, and probably people are going to be like, why would I read a book that doesn't have a happy ending? Because sometimes in our world, we don't have happy endings. And yes, we read to escape sometimes so we don't have to face the realities of the world, but this is a magical realism book, guys. There's magical realism in it. So having that little bit of humanity attached to it, I thought was beautiful. I thought it was a really nice component to the story because sadness can be pretty. There can be beauty in sad and dark, and it doesn't have to be grotesque dark. Sometimes sad can be beautiful. I mean, look at some of the famous ballets and famous musicals. Sometimes the guy doesn't always get the girl at the end. You know, Swan Lake, he doesn't get her. She dies. But it's still a beautiful ballet. It's still stunning to watch and play out and pull on those heartstrings. So I thought it was great that I had this book that had all these references, but she didn't give me a traditional ending that goes with it. She gave me an ending that probably would actually happen in most times. And I thought that was awesome. I thought it was really gutsy, and I really enjoyed it. It was definitely very refreshing, and I was not expecting it at all. I was not expecting it. I was expecting to get some kind of HEA happy ending, and I'm like, I didn't. I got hope. I didn't get an HEA, but I got hope. Which sometimes is just enough to mask the sadness, but the sadness still carries. Because hope is one of those emotions that to have it, you have to carry the pain with you. You have to acknowledge the pain before you can hope, before you can actually go forward and try to achieve that hope. Because hope implies you're hoping for something better, something more than what you have. So you have to acknowledge what you have first. And I thought that was great. I thought that was awesome. Oh, she did such a good job. She did. However, there was some things in this book that I didn't think worked. I mentioned earlier that there are 3 parts to this book. The first part is the largest, and it is by far the slowest. The historical fiction part. I think when she got to the magical realism part, that was her bread and butter. That's where her real story was. And that's where she felt the most comfortable because it flowed a lot better. The pace was a lot quicker and a lot more entertaining. The historical fiction part, the setting up of kind of these building blocks of kind of building the sadness within her that was going to be obtained later on and referenced later on. This backstory we had to build. This mini world we were building that she was kind of leaving and coming into and leaving. That was kind of slow. It was entertaining, but it was slow. Even for somebody who likes historical fiction, there was some slow moments in there. She did pepper back with time, which did help. We do have some flashbacks to time, and that's kind of how she's telling this historical fiction element in the first part of the book. We do have some flashbacks, and that does help with the pace because it does give you something to kind of like, oh, I'm not just dancing. I'm not just feeling sad. I'm not just looking out my window wondering, is this it? I'm going back, and then I'm coming forward. So I got some movement and some flow in that first part for sure. That definitely helped with that pace, but it still was a little bit slow for me. So I could definitely see people not wanting to continue if they think the whole book's gonna be like that. It's not. It speeds up, but you have to get through that first part. But unfortunately, she did make it the largest part of the book. So I thought that was kind of a miss there. I feel like she could have condensed some of that just a little bit more. But I don't feel but at the same time, if she would have done that, she would have had to pull a lot harder on the heartstrings in the magical realism end of this book to really draw that emotion out that we needed to. So give her 6 one, half dozen the other. But for me, it was just a little bit slow. The transitions between worlds. So in the second part, we experience the modern world, the dream world, and then the ethereal world of the dead, so to speak. And her transitions between these sometimes are really, really clear. Really, really clear, very obvious what's going on because of the buildup to it. Sometimes I didn't know if she was dreaming or she was actually in the underworld or if she was so stoned that she had no idea what was going on. The transitions in some areas weren't very clear, and that was kind of unnerving because I felt I had to go back and reread a few things. And I don't like doing that, especially in a book this short. I shouldn't have to do that. So I feel like maybe if she had given some more to this book, made it a little bit longer, she could have expounded on those transitions more, given them a little bit more meat, more depth, and it would have been a little bit more clear and smoother. Because once I figured out where I was at, I was fine. It was just getting from point A to point B in some areas, especially the dream world and into the underworld. And there's this labyrinth component that's how his name is Master La Rosa in this book, the character of Thanatos, essentially. That's how he's referenced most of the book. He traverses this labyrinth, so he never actually has to go outside and be seen. And that labyrinth and how it kind of bleeds into the real world and then like flashes back. Before we actually got a clear description of what was going on, it was kind of awkward. So that's another one of those transitional areas where it's like one area that just transition from like one room to the next. Like give me a little bit more. But eventually she does clear it up and then does get clear. But it's a couple before she clears it up. It's a little, what the fuck are you talking about, lady? I don't understand. Which works for the story because the character herself is confused. But I don't always like to be feeling the exact same thing my characters are because I like to at least know that, okay, I'm in a dream sequence right now. Okay, cool. So the little transitions were, I think could have been a little stronger, especially for her writing talent, her skill in writing. I think she had it in her to do it. But it was just, she needed more space and she obviously gave us a short story. So if she had more space, I think there wouldn't have been an issue at all. So there is a heavy dance component to this story, and dance is a very visual thing. Okay. It's a very visual thing. And I've seen a couple ballets in my life and they were stunning. Stunning. But I am not a dancer at all. Okay, I don't dance. And when the little that I did dance was not ballet, okay? This on point shoot, no. No. Leave that for somebody else. But during the dance segments, I mentioned that she wrote in this kind of dualistic nature where she talked about like the pain and everything involved with the dancer, the physical elements of the dancer, while talking about this ethereal, lyrical beauty. It was well done, but the drama and the pull that these dances were supposed to have, especially towards the very last dance, which is a ballet that's literally choreographed around the story that we're reading. So there's symbolism to this story. So these dance elements I felt needed to be stronger, not in the fact that they weren't technically written well. It was the emotional pull to it. Even though I am not physically up there dancing, when I watch ballet, I am pulled in. I am sucked into the dancer. The dancer captivates me and makes me only see them. Okay? And I've seen books, I have read books with artistic components, not dancing components, but artistic components. So musical components, painting components, drawing components, where the author was able to take the drama of actually experiencing that act or actually listening to the song, sitting here listening to the song, and convey it in a way where I forget that it's a story, but I actually feel like I hear the music and I feel like I'm in there and I feel like I'm sitting there staring at a painting, getting lost in the brushstrokes and the artistry of this painter hundreds of years ago. And I feel the pain of the model on their face. And I know what the story is behind just by looking at the painting. I've seen authors do this. And so I hold artistic elements in books at a very high standards because I've read it done really, really well. And I don't think she pulled it off. Technical, written clearly, absolutely. I knew what all those moves were. I could see them played out. I could see it. But here's my thing. With as lyrical as she wrote this story, that did not traverse into that technical ballet part. And if it had, I feel like I would have experienced that drama of that play. I would have felt the longing of the hunter for the princess. I would have seen the firebird fight for her life. I feel like some of her dance sequences, she didn't give enough depth and enough time to, and I really wanted it because I'm not going to lie to you. I picked up this book because I watched Black Swan. I had Black Swan vibes and I want to read a book about ballet. That's why I picked this book up. Okay. Like, look, obviously ballet. So I was expecting, I wanted a dramatic pull from those dance scenes and I was really hoping for it. And I just didn't get it. Did I get a technically written, perfectly ballet scene? Absolutely. I know exactly what moves she did. I know what they look like. I could put them together in my head and see what it was, but I couldn't feel what it was because the words didn't convey it. She didn't give me enough drama and enough depth and enough intrigue in those artistic scenes. And I've read enough books with artistic elements that that's becoming a thing of mine that I look for. And it just didn't hit for me. Do I think this woman has the chops to do it? Abso-fucking-lutely. Absolutely. Again, I think the size of this book hindered that. I love that it's so short because she was able to include so many elements and she did them well. But the elements that were so important and pivotal to the story, other physical elements, I mean, she is picked to dance to bring the dead back. That's why the master picks her. Give me her dance. Show me the dancer. Show me the woman that can captivate the dead to draw them in. Draw me in, damn it. Draw me in. And I just wasn't. I wasn't at the dancing moments, and I wanted to be. I wanted to get lost in the pirouettes and the arabesques and the point toes. I wanted to feel the pain in my calves with her. I wanted to see the elation when the prince gets the princess. I wanted to feel it all. I didn't just want to see it. I wanted to feel it. And it wasn't conveyed that way. The dancing elements were not conveyed. There were other areas of this book where she did fantastic and she got me there and she made me feel it. It was the dancing elements that she did not. And I was kind of upset about that because I was really looking forward to that. As for a spice rating, I actually gave this one chili pepper. There is one fade to black scene in this. And it's literally a paragraph that says, sweaty bodies melding together. This was something I needed. It's very basic. There are no dirty words. It's very florally written, very lyrically written, but it is a fade to black scene. So there is not a lot of super sexy fun time, but there is a genuine romance in this. There is this build. It does feel kind of insta in the beginning, but when you figure out what is actually going on, it's not so insta anymore. It's earned. And then you have the ending on top of it and you're like, I got you. I see you. I see you. So a very nice romance with a bittersweet ending. Not a smut book. So I gave it one chili pepper. I gave this a final rating of a 3.5. I would have given it a 5-star if she had given me that drama with the dance scenes, but it got a 3.5 from me. And I definitely want to pick up another one of her works. She wrote another book called Waking Forest that I definitely think I'm going to go try to check out. I had a good time with this. Very short. I would definitely, it worked for a read along. I also read it in a day. I read it in a solid day while doing other things. So it took me all day to read it, but I definitely enjoyed it. And there's enough intrigue on this cover that like, if you were doing a read along with certain images on the cover, it's there. There's a lot of Greek mythology retelling. There's a lot of implements in this short book that can be used for like read alongs or prompts that if you need to get something done, because this hits a lot of different levels for sure. So I had a good time. I definitely had a good time. I do recommend it. I just wanted more from that dance. I wanted more from it. So another book I started this week was The Witch and the Tsar by Olesya Sladnikova Gilmore. This is about the Baba Yaga, and this is being read for the Black Hat Book Coven, which is a book club here on YouTube that I am part of with some other lovely ladies, and I'll link them down in the down box below. We have a live show on this book on my channel at 6 p.m. Central on January 27th. So if you'd like to hear our thoughts and views on the Baba Yaga, please feel free. But this is how Baba Yaga works with Ivan the Terrible. I'm pretty sure. I'm still I'm not all the way through it. I barely started it. I started on a reading sprint that I did 2 weeks ago, and I'm still making my way through it. I plan on, I have to have it done by Sunday, so I'll have it done. But yeah, so I'm still working through it. Historical fiction, witchy book. That's what I had to say about it right now. I'll have more to say about it later for sure. And the last book I am still plugging my way through because it's a beast. It's a beast. It's emotional. It's already breaking my heart and putting it back together. And I'm not even close. Is Ghost by Christina Marziatis, the third installment of the Love Lighting series. Yes, I'm still plowing my way through this thing. But damn it. Oh my God. There's already a huge scene in this book that I've been waiting for already. And I'm just like, man, it's that early. It's that early on. And if I know anything about Christina, I cannot get comfortable with it, okay? I cannot get comfortable that it's gonna stay because it's literally really still early on in the book. I got this, guys. It's still early on, okay? Yeah. So I'm still, I'm still scared. I'm still scared, but I did get a big scene that I wanted. I was happy about it. I will talk more about it when I finish because this will also be getting a full book review as well. I am reviewing this entire series, and if you've not heard the Love Letting series, where the fuck have you been? No, exactly. The whole playlist of my reviews, it will be linked here in the corner. I've reviewed book 1 and book 2. I'm reviewing this entire series for Christina, and this is her third installment. And I'm having a good time with it, but I'm already even more scared because she's giving me something I want, and anytime she's giving me something I want, she promptly takes it away. So I need to enjoy it while I have it. I just need to enjoy it while I have it because I know it's not forever. I know it's not. I already feel it. And I feel it's going to end just like it ended the first time. Damn it. I don't want it to. But still having a good time with it. That is what I worked on last week, guys. Like I said, I didn't get a lot completed because of the First Lady Reads Awards because that's pretty labor intensive. But if you've not seen that, go check it out. It'll be linked in the down box below. And that's what I got. So I will see you guys all soon with another video. And keep your eyes peeled for To Bleed a Crystal Bloom review. It'll be going up this week. And I'm working on a recommendation video for this week. So there might be another video popping up later on in the week other than just a review. So see you guys all soon. Love you.